Good evening, students, teachers, and leaders. Question I have for you tonight is, where do you find your energy? Now, as I get older, as a teacher, as a human, I realize that managing time is a good thing, so you can get more things done. But the more I move on, the more I go through different events in life, the more I realize that managing energy is probably as important, if not more important, than managing time. So let's see if we can look into those topics today. So welcome to my podcast. My name is Alain Faber, and I've been teaching for more than 25 years, and I'm sharing ideas I have through about teaching, from things I see, things I experience as a teacher, and in life as well. Now, keeping in mind that if you go on social media, you have a lot of people that are talking about how tired they are. They're trying to find ways to either work from home. If they're at work, they find it hard. They notice that there's a lot of learning in school. It's not easy. Job requirements are not easy. So what happens if we have a lot of people talking about their energy level? So let's see if we can talk about that today. And if you're new to my channel, don't hesitate to give a thumbs up and subscribe, because every week I have podcasts, and on Saturday I have a live about science and different topics related to science. This podcast is always divided in three portions. The first one is about the learner's perspective, or the student's perspective. The second one about the teacher's perspective, and then I talk about the leader's perspective from my experience and what I can see. So let's see. If you are thinking of the student's perspective, the big question we have to look into is, how do students find their energy? So first of all, people will say, well, they need to go to bed early, or they need to find ways to sleep. Now, this is the very superficial way of looking at this, because if you're a student, a teenager, or even an adult learning in a post-secondary institution, what you realize is that you're trying to manage your energy the best way that you understand. That means that you're spending the day at school, lessons, courses, and work, and then you come back at home, and then you want to have some times for yourself. At the beginning, you may not have as much energy. You eat a little bit, and then you find yourself with energy. And then you realize, I have energy to do things that I want to do. And then it gets into a routine. Then it's harder for you to go to bed. And then you end up going to bed later. Getting up in the morning is hard. And then here, energy level is tricky. So the whole idea here I have for suggestion is to keep in mind that if you want to manage energy, it's important for you to put into your day things that you love to do. So that means that if you love to go on social media, if you love to do sports, if you love to learn, set in your agenda time for that. So for example, if you are at school from, let's say, 8 till 3 in the afternoon, there's no reason why you can't plan, let's say, an hour of personal time after school and 2 hours after dinner. What you have left, you end up with a situation where you have maybe a couple of hours between 4 and 6, and then a couple of hours later that will be, for example, between, let's say, 9. No, let's say you go on social media a bit later. So you have maybe between 4 and 6, and then between 7 and 8. That's 3 hours that you can spend on homework or do things for your family and so on, and still have time to do what you want to do, which is, you can plan to procrastinate, but you can also plan to play video games. You can plan to do social events, go for coffee with friends, go for a walk. There's all kinds of things you can do. And still, you have done all the things you want to do, and it's still about 9 o'clock or 9:30 at night. Early enough for you to go to bed. So here, managing energy is important. Good evening, Prairie Dogs. Always nice to see you, Cindy. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Very good. So talking about energy, what else do I have here with respect to students? What I noticed though in the last few years is often students are coming to class and they sit, and then they expect teachers to give them information. They expect teachers to give them the checklist of things they have to do. They expect teachers to give the list of the things, the expectations they have to do. And then they expect the teachers to do so much for them, and that they also expect maximum success. What I realize sometimes is that I've noticed that sometimes there's a little bit less curiosity that I've noticed in the past. So in my science class, I'd always try to do hands-on activities. I try to do activities where I bring up curiosity so that learning is easier. So for example, I was working with static electricity in my science class, and the best way to introduce that is to use balloons. So when you rub balloons on your hair, you can create static electricity, and it's amazing. But out of my 3 classes, I had 7 or 8 students, grade 9 students, so 14 or 15, that had never had a chance in their whole life to inflate a balloon. And it was interesting because they knew of balloons, they had seen inflated balloons, but they had no clue on how to inflate them. So that was last Thursday and a bit on Tuesday this week. So what's interesting is it's possible that those students will never remember what we learned about static electricity, but they will have learned that they can inflate now a balloon and that they can play with them, and then scientific observations can work from there. So if you think about that, we all had a chance to see balloons. Some people, when they see balloons, they look at them and nothing happens. But others, like me, when I see balloons, I get excited. I get curious to see what I can do with those balloons. So I think curiosity is very important. And if you think of language classes, for example, so I teach French. And what's interesting is because of AI, because of translating tools, because a lot of the stories have been told on videos, on movies, it's hard sometimes to get people to get curious about the language so they can say, okay, I want to say something. How can I say that? And it's so easy to go online and get the information. But the quest of actually trying to figure out, to solve the problems of how to do something, how to say something, how to answer a question in lab, I think curiosity is something that we need to nurture as much as possible. Because if you can nurture curiosity, then curiosity leads to motivation in the future. And that's very good because curiosity to learn and curiosity to do experiments in a classroom, curiosity to read a new book, curiosity to meet new people in person. I think these are quite important because curiosity leads students, even though sometimes they fail, to say, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I learn? And what can I do better next time? If I've seen students, sometimes they go to the class, they go to my class, and then they expect me to give them all the information, to give them all the checklists of what they need to do. I give them all the expectations, but then there's an evaluation that, oops, it's not quite what they expected, because they were still looking at me giving them all the pieces so that they had nothing to do. All they had to do is wait for me to tell them. But in real life, in my class anyway, I do like their perspective. And that's what I think keeps teaching important. I'm curious about what students can think about and what are the ideas that they can bring in my classroom. And that is the next topic for this podcast, which is on the teacher's perspective. Now, if you're a teacher, the idea here is always about energy management. And I say that because I realize more and more as students require more and more from teachers. They require information, checklists, what they need to do, the expectations, but not just in class. The expectation is that it's available in person, it's available in the class, it's available online, so that all the information is available everywhere. And that takes energy. And what is interesting with respect to teaching is that when you are in a classroom setting and then curiosity is available, curiosity is at the forefront of what we do, then people can play in their learning. And what you do when you play with your learning is that you raise everybody's understanding and you raise everybody's learning and energy at the same time. Now, it's not an easy feat because personally, I'm an introvert, and being an introvert, it's always harder for me to be with people. However, I've been teaching science, for example, for more than 20 years, 25 years even. And what happens is that even though the curriculum is the same, The topics haven't changed much over the last 25 years. The students have changed, the ideas have changed, the interaction, the ideas from what we're learning and the application. If you think that I started teaching in 1999, the internet was not the way it was. Smartphones did not exist. And therefore, the way curiosity and how we showed our learning was different compared to what we have now in 2024. And something that is helping me as an introvert is a book. It's called Build to Serve by Evan Carmichael. He's a good friend, and I think that I love the way he brings this forward. So the idea here is that the best way to help others is to have the mindset that you're built to serve others. For the same way that in order for me to manage my energy, I always look into the fact that I'm there for my students. Because if I was going into class saying that my students are there for me, then it'll be easier sometimes to get rewarded, but often to be disappointed. Sometimes, if their expectations and they're not giving you what you expect from them, then disappointment can be there. However, if you are considering that you're there to serve and therefore build to serve their learning, serve their moment in life where they are with you, then it's so much easier because then you want to be there for them. And if you are doing well, then the students are there when want to be there for you. And I think that is quite important. And I know I've seen, like I was on the social media not too long ago, actually this afternoon, and there was teachers that were talking about it's October, teachers are tired, the classroom managements are being up. They talk about that they have the Thanksgiving coming up, so they just can't wait for the time off. And it's sometimes harder to see positive output on how teachers are. I do believe that it's an amazing profession. We just have to make sure that we are there for the good reason. And I think that's amazing. So this is what I have to say on this one, expectations and grade. The third segment I have for us today is about the leader's perspective. And when I think of a leader, so a leader could be the CEO of a company, but it could also be the person leading a community group, teacher in a classroom. It can also be a parent in a family. It can even be young people babysitting others. The whole idea of leadership is when you are willing to help others become the best version of themselves. Now, what's interesting with leadership and with energy is that everything takes energy around us, and often we have more people that are in need of energy that they are willing to give. And we can see that in a classroom, we can see that in a family. And what happens is that you need to be there as a leader to help others recognize that curiosity is available, to help people realize that if they are mindful, they can serve others. So not just in negatively, but serve others to become better. And therefore, as a community, you can all be growing. And I think that's important. So for example, energy in a team could be just recognizing the effort of a few people. Contribution in a team, that's always important. Some people will say, well, you can always give knickknacks and a few knickknacks, a pen, a cup, a t-shirt to people to feel better. But often these are good, but sometimes they can be procedural. Oh, this is a checklist. We've done this to make people feel better. But often specific attention is always good. And very nice, because keep in mind that as a leader, you need to be there to manage energy, not just managing time. Because as a leader, if you can manage your energy, then you can help others manage their own energy. And there's always ups and downs, and it does happen. So usually my energy is always higher in the afternoon, and it's going lower as the day is going by. However, I do know that at lunchtime, if I can go outside for 20 minutes, that's just enough for me to energize me. At the end of the day, I get tired just with my last group. And often that I try to use humor, and I try to share with them how we can enjoy the time, even though it's the last period of the day, so we can have enough energy to do what we want to do in evening. So I give them 5-minute break. I give them a chance to to talk with each other. If they need to go for a little walk around the school or outside, they do so. And what happens is that they are also energized and they remain energized as much as possible. So I think these are things that we can do. On this, I think that is my topic for today. Some of these, so I used to do podcasts that were 30 minutes. Now they're 30 because I'm a bit tired, I have to say. And therefore, I'm trying to manage my energy, saying that doing the podcast is important. And I want to manage my energy by planning it here to give you as much as I can, but also keeping some energy to do other things that are important to me. On this, if you have any comments, clarification questions, don't hesitate to put them in the comments below. I always read them and use your ideas for future videos or just answering and opening up the conversation. On this, it's been a pleasure to see you tonight, and have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 7:30. On this, have a wonderful day. Take care. There we go.